everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tube, or welcome back. This is your 15th Matlock episode review. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe out there in the big old world. We have reached the end of our Slam three-part arc. It's a very interesting one. Very much, this is a very interesting third final part to it, as we kind of tee off into like finally the last leg of this story, not to the whole show, but like just to this season's story. This episode was, I'll be honest, not what I was expecting. I was expecting a little bit more kind of what we were kind of teasing towards the end of last week. And I feel like this is a very natural emotional growth episode that continues to question, we don't get much in the way of figuring out the final culprit to this entire case, but this is kind of like the final, like, I would imagine this is the last, final traditional sense episode before, as we reach into the end, because I don't think we'll have time for more cases. I mean, if we do end up getting a case next week, I wouldn't be surprised. But between everything going on right now with this episode, I feel like this was just kind of like the right time to kind of remind people what things are before things are bound to change. Because it's just it's coming to an end soon. Like, they're getting the pieces. The pieces are there. They're still missing the last golden clinch they need for Maddie to anonymously drop this and everything. But this episode kind of paints a little bit into question mark on Maddie's future a little bit. It's not just the case itself. It's the larger picture of things, and her epiphany with her sister has kind of like pushed her to that realization that it may not just quite be over, even if she exposes them. It's still not over yet. So very much it's a questionability to her, like, what is she going to do now? Like, that's kind of her stance right now. Where, like, she knows the mission, but at what cost are we going to persevere on this? And I feel like that's, for her, it's like something that she's still kind of holding on to at the end of the day. And even by the end of the episode, I feel like there's still kind of like a little bit of hesitation to her, like, what is going to be left on the other side, and the way they kind of leave it off for us, and I'm like, oh, okay, damn, they knew. This is exactly why I love these writers. I really, really do, and I can't wait to see when we come back in April to see how it all wraps up, so to speak. But with all that being said, let's go for the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of Matlock. Got a little recap from last week. And then Maddie's kind of spiraling a little bit, considering the fact that, again, for the last couple months, she's kind of already exonerated Olympia from the case, because there's no way she could have done it. Between everything she's learned about her, all the trust they learned from each other, a genuine friendship has formed between them, even in, like, not the most, like, likely of circumstances. It's still very much these two, they have this sort of, like, kinship to each other, and that, Maddie's kind of hooked onto it. But now, her having to understand, like, it is a 99% chance that it was Olympia that took the document. For whatever reason is unclear, but, like, it's still very much in that question of, like, where exactly is the fault going to lie? And her husband and her sister kind of, like, watching the spiral, and they're expecting, like, depressed Maddie. They're expecting, like, oh, great, we're going to have to, like, get some time off. Maybe this will be the episode where, like, Maddie just, like, is not with the firm. I think that was the natural assumption, but no, apparently no. She's just, like, putting on her happy face, ready to kind of get the day going. Just like, yeah, okay, so Olympia's are the one. Okay, so what? Like, now we move forward. Now we got to figure out exactly the documents, try to figure out how does it all tie together, and then bring it into the newspaper world to kind of take it from there. That's kind of like what they're kind of pivoting to right now. She's just faking a smile, like like most people do, just to, like, hide her true emotions on the subject. We cut back to the the preliminary case in hearing. Thankfully, after last week's ending, thankfully the judge has granted some provisions for them to continue onward with the trial, so it's not quite over yet. They're still needing to have something else crucial, not from a witness statement, to be able to continue and, like, win the case. They're still waiting for that. They're not quite looking for it or have found it just quite yet. So they're trying to figure out what to do. Elijah does have one more lead that they can explore with a person. So hopefully that could be enough to, like, win the grand case and everything. And that's kind of like the view to win right now. There is a little, like, disgruntledness from Senior again, from, like, okay, like, what are we doing? Like, like, the case is kind of over already. You lost your star witness, you lost a lot of elements. We lost so much money in the making of this case. Like, I think by a certain point, it's like, are you ready to kind of quit it? But of course, obviously, Olympia needs this case to be the win. I know there's also another Olympia Julian weird bonding moment where like the divorce papers are inked out, it's ready to go, it just needs their signatures, and they're ready to call it to it. But we're not quite there yet. They want to like get the slam case over with so that Olympia could fully focus on that, basically speaking. I also know that I know there was another moment where considering now that they know it's Olympia, that Maddie advises her husband to go into their old Reddit account and message the Redditor that they corresponded with many, many years ago in hopes that they can now pursue forward with the next aspect of this, which is like, obviously at the time they were speaking to him, they said, you go find the evidence. And now that they have, now they can hopefully correspond with them again in order to get the final link about it. And they're still assuming that this is someone that's within the firm itself. So whether it's an older retired employee, it's still very much the key. Like, this was someone on the inside and very much someone that they need to really get back in touch with. So that's kind of like Maddie's secondary agenda today, to try and figure out who could that mysterious Redditor be. Could be anyone, basically. Eventually Elijah does come back. He does sadly report that their like ace in the hole witness sadly did back out in the last minute, so they cannot use them. Sadly, so they'll have to pursue forward with another opportunity. Which again, at this point, they're just trying to like figure out what is a legal approach way we can 100% make sure that Slam was always meant to be this sort of addictive drink, regardless of like of everything going on. So they're still trying to find it still, and we'll get more on that later. I know there's a scene where Sarah converses with the usual tech lady we know of. She's kind of close with Maddie a little bit about the status of the office competition that Sarah's hoping to win, but sadly they have made a determination who it's going to be. It is someone on Julian's team, and it came from the higher up decision from Senior. So sadly Sarah will not be getting it, but obviously Sarah's like really like, why would Senior step in on this for an office matter? Like, should it have just been an agreed upon peer decision? But that's another question for a little bit later on. I know we do go back to court. I'm trying to remember exactly how that day goes. I'm trying to remember. I believe they bring back another witness in, but it doesn't go in their favor. Not yet. We're not into that moment yet. And Maddie's taking on point on counsel. In order to like, I guess it's also the Maddie effect again. They're just trying to like use that older charm on the jurors again, trying to see if they can sway some victors. And I know we have an early day with the case. I know I'm really jumping around here. I know before we get to that scene, I know Maddie is back at home trying to contemplate everything with the Redditor, and then her sister was just commenting to her saying, "Oh, I got some great news. It's Augie." No, it's not his name. Alfie, he has his first crush. He's in love, and there's a girl he wants to ask to a dance. So we're gonna make a nice muffin for her to ask her out. Which I'm just like, huh. Should have tried that when I was younger. Anyway, so she's cooking fresh biscuits, which I'm like, those look really good. Like, lay some like melted butter on there. Perfect. But yeah, I believe that the interjection here is that so Maddie is speaking in court, kind of doing her own thing to the witness, and however she knows is her sister walking in, which I'm just like, this is not what Maddie needs right now. She had to make like a very lewd comment to get rid of her, and that's just like, yeah, man, that was rough. That was really, really rough. Also, yeah, a little bit, Maddie's got a little bit of an attitude with Olympia. Sadly, she cannot really hide too much of her disappointment on her right now. So that is kind of the, bleeding through into the actual days itself, and it's kind of harming their friendship just a little bit. We'll get more on that a little bit later. I'm trying to see. I'm really out of order here. I do apologize. I'm trying to think where exactly did we go. I know eventually they're just searching for some sort of connection to Slam, to some sort of like very violent event, and they do have a lead on a party that happened years ago, which that Billy does get in contact with the DJ. Him and Sarah go to meet him. Sadly, it's not really that direct what they were expecting, but they do find these prototype cans that were there at the time, and they managed to actually, trace with a VPN, and they're trying to trace who was the payer. It turned out to be the company themselves. So once Olivia takes this to court, she manages to prove that to them as the opposing side obviously had to be aware of this. They had to be fully transparent on this. So they were withholding this, that the fact they paid off a local DJ to promote a beta drink that was still not 100% cleared for market. Obviously, the defense is very much like, hey, I didn't know. We're dealing with thousands of documents. Of course, one or two were going to slip for the crack. That just happened to be one of them. And sadly, the judge managed to rule that in. The only exception is that they cannot argue any related follow-up discoveries pertaining to this. So they're not allowed to do so, which is still a win, but very much a very limited win for our team over here. I do know eventually once Maddie goes back to the house after her sister kind of barged in on the court case, she witnesses Alfie dancing with her. Apparently, the girl said yes to Alfie. That's my boy. And now she's just practicing dancing just in case if they have to dance at the dance, which I'm just like, it's a dance. Why wouldn't you dance at the dance? And then Maddie and her kind of pull themselves aside to have a conversation about what happened. Obviously, she's not just happy with just the way things are going. Like, Maddie's like, okay, you're letting me in, but at the same time, you're not letting me in. Like, why are you not being 100%, more transparent with me about it? Because, I just want you to. And it just seems like you still don't trust me, even though you had to begrudgingly tell you the situation. And it's just like, Maddie's is in a hard and a rock space, a rough spot right now, to be honest with you. I know there was a nice comment she made to her earlier where Ellie used to go to her aunt very more often than her parents because, who doesn't want to go to the cool aunt because, that's just sometimes how it is, with that sort of thing. Where do we go from here? I'm trying to think. I know Billy and Sarah are having more snafus because Sarah wants to use Billy's connection to his new romantic interest, let's just call it that. I don't know if they just firmly established themselves as boyfriend and girlfriend yet, but she's trying to use it. Billy doesn't really want to use that connection right now because, again, he doesn't want to mix too much things, and with Sarah involved, it's not really proper for them to do so. But I believe, but he does eventually kind of let it and decide to kind of use it a little bit, not too much, to be honest with you. I know there's a scene where Maddie converses with her husband. The Redditor did not respond to their most recent message, but she did click on the evidence link, and with them having the snap of the IP address, it does confirm that that person is still working at the firm. So that means it's got to be someone that was working there 14 years ago and still working there today, which shouldn't be that many people, to be honest with you. It should not be. So he does manage to do a little bit of the research. There was a very small group that was still working there at the time. So they just got to wean down the list and see who could this potential person be. And Maddie's going to okay, we're going to meet up with them. We got to compare our notes and take it from there. So from there, I want to say, I believe they eventually, I know after the discoveries made with the whole falsification, obviously it's a two-pronged thing. Number one, that Senior is about to interject. He had a private one-on-one meeting with the parent company to basically drop the lawsuit, and they're willing to equally buy out as much money as the firm is invested in this case to drop the case. So for Senior's like, okay, we didn't gain anything, we lost time, but at the same time, we'll get our money back. And I think for him, that's more important. And obviously, Olympia's pleading with him, please, don't do it. Give me a little bit more time. Senior's like, no, it's done. Sign off, and let's move on. And obviously, the word goes back to Sarah and Billy, who are ready to pack it up. And Olympia's like, no, the case is not over because I haven't signed off yet. So until I sign off, we still have a case. We're still pursuing. We only have a 24-hour window to find our clinch. So Olympia's basically really double beating to them. You need to find a connection. We need something to prove that this drink is volatile and that they're doing some shady stuff. I believe there's one more in-person hearing after this Maddie does get really upset with Olympia. She kind of goes off a little bit on her, and Olympia having enough of Maddie, she's like, okay, you know what? You're dismissed. Go home. I don't need this negativity right now. Not today. So sadly, Maddie has to leave. Olympia has a quick conversation with one of the security ladies for unknown reasons. We'll probably get to that another time. To the point when by the time Olympia gets back to the firm, sadly, because of the agreement that the defense made, they have to relinquish all of their files that they were using on the case. And of course, they do the traditional, they send hundreds of boxes, they fill other random documents in there to hide the real documents, because technically they never said they had to just limit themselves to the documents requested, which is really a shitty maneuver, but it is technically a legal maneuver that they can do. So sadly, they got to pull an all-nighter. They only have 14 hours before the court reconvenes on this case, so they got to find whatever golden clinch right now, and sadly, Maddie's not there to help them, so Shay has to come in and volunteer to assist on the matter. Maddie returns home with the others kind of looking through who the potential leaker is. However, they kind of focus their attention on like also just another aspect, considering the fact that Shay did mention one thing in an earlier scene that I forgot about, where she mentions that near every single parent company, when they're putting a new product to market, they need to conduct focus groups, study groups, to figure out, to range what is the nature of this ring. Why is it, why, like, it's always has to be the case, because otherwise the regulatory departments that they're working with is not going to sign off on it. So Maddie's thinking about, like, okay, so Brexta has to be the same thing. There has to be a focus group somewhere that is implying that this was never meant to be on the market because this was going to be addicting. So we get like a little bit of a montage with both of them. There's a scene between Shay and Olympia where Shay does apologize to Olympia about the affair. She made the first move. It wasn't Julian. She understood they had marital problems at the time, and she took advantage of it. Olympia does not accept her apology. At the end of the day, she is just doing the cordial thing of doing this case because that's what lawyers do. Eventually, the montages end between both of them when Olympia, well, for Olympia's team, Shay managed to find this focus group video that that is very incriminating, which we'll get to more in terror. But this is their clinch. This is the win they need to beat the case. And as for Maddie, they managed to find a Brexta focus group that proved that there was a specific instruction where, like, while technically the methodology of this medication is validated for medical use, if someone was to break it up into the smaller, finer pieces, technically it could mean that, that this could potentially be an addictive drug. So sadly, that is not, no está bueno para the team right now. So, now that they know, like, this is a public document, this was meant to be, this could have been the thing that could have shut down the whole release of opioids, because if this was to be in the wrong hands, which again, let's be honest, most medications and drugs do eventually end up in the wrong hands somehow, somewhere. And if you were to, like, follow this specifically instructions, like, if you crush this medication up, it's going to release the compound faster. The whole point of the pill or the capsule that it's using, it's meant to slow down the release. So, like, you're still getting the same effect, but not to this, like, supreme extreme rapid pace, which again is more addicting than others. So now they have it. They're going to reach out to the Redditor again. This time, Maddie's going to be the one to correspond with her directly and see if she can, like, wheel out the groundhog from the hole. So we cut to the next day. Olympia manages to present the found video to court with a representative from the company, in which there was a period between the beta drinks they found, that there was a brief period that something must have occurred to change up the logo design with the current model on the can. So Olympia presents this video, which apparently the study group was for teenagers, a younger market, even though technically this drink was advertised for the older market. So sad to say the least that this was not part of their plan. So now that this has gone public, this does very much paint them in a very negative light, since you're saying you're not trying to appease the kids, that if kids happen to get a hand of it, it's because they're doing it illegally, has nothing to do with the company. But since you're having a focus group specifically targeting teens, a younger demographic that you think you're advertising to, then you're doing that on purpose. That was not coincidental. You willingly knew what you were doing. So thankfully, with that being said, Olympia manages to win the case, and the settlement is for $40 million, which is over what was the original proposed payoff. So obviously, seniors is playing around and just saying that, oh, that's great, a girl, and Olympia's like, you were just ready to cut me cold, dead and sinker just a few hours ago. He's like, hey, I gotta motivate you somehow. You always work best under pressure, which I'm just like, we should never have to be like that. I mean, of course, obviously, people work best under pressure. I'm like, nah, that fucking sucks. Maddie comes in and immediately she just apologizes to Olympia on her behavior the last few days. She's just using the age card on her. It's like, I'm not as, well patient as I am anymore. That I do have moments where it does kind of leak out into conversations. It's nothing against you. It was me. I apologize. So Olympia does accept the apology, and we convene on that in the moment. So the two are kind of made up for the time being on that front. I know Olympia does go to Julian. They celebrate their divorce officially. They sign the papers. They are officially now a separate couple. And the only reason why Julian's kind of celebrating is that technically his marriage lasted longer than any of his dad's marriages combined. So he's taking that the win in stride on that front. So, which is, very, very, very nice for them. It's, they're going to move on. They're going to be friends. They're going to eventually kind of, move past this. And while they probably never will try again this marriage, at least they're ending it on somewhat somber terms, especially they're trying to keep the semblance of their family still going, which is very, very, very sweet to see. Then I want to say we cut over to, we had a scene before the court case where Maddie's writing a letter to the Redditor explaining to her, look, I know when you informed me of this potential leak years ago, you're doing it because you believe in justice, that you believe that things should be proper, and that what the law firm did was not proper. So I know you care. I know you care about the people that got hurt over this, and that you should definitely 100% come out to the limelight and definitely, help us out here. Very much, this is the moment where you can finally make up for all the sins that this company did. All the people that it's hurt, everyone that it's touched negatively, this is the chance to put a stop to it. So it gets sent, and after everything's said and done, I believe that's everything it covered with everyone else. So, yeah, I think that's it. I don't remember anything else going on with everyone else. Maddie goes into I believe it's Central Park to meet up with the proposed Redditor. Obviously, she's a little bit worried. However, she kind of already knew who it was, as we see Shay. I feel like that's Shay with a man. I'm not really 100% certain who that is. It looks like Shay. Maybe it's a guesstimation. And then we look behind them, and it turns out to be the tech lady. I forgot her name, sadly. So now we get the flashbacks where every single reference, every single mention connected to the Redditor account, to this woman's behavior, mannerism, likes, interests. It's all making sense until to the point where Maddie, once she figured it out, once she kind of put pieces together, she's like, this was her. She leaked it. And now this is a really big moment, considering the fact that Maddie's finally going to be able to talk to one of them and just be like, hey, I've been working undercover the whole time. Now we're ready to kind of put this to bed. But how will that conversation go about? We'll have to find out next time, because that was it for this week's episode of Matlock. I thought this episode was great. I really, really did. Actually, I forgot there was one more scene I forgot to talk about, where Maddie and her sister have one more conversation when Alfie is about to go off to his first dance. A very nice, sweet moment where Maddie apologizes to her and everything. There was a little bit of jealousy because, her sister was always kind of the cool person, always, being the person people go to, not Maddie. Maddie's always had difficulty making friends, outside the one she does, and she's kind of really fallen in love with being a lawyer properly again, and her friendship with Olympia was kind of the first real friendship she's had in years, and the fact that not only is she hurt by the fact that someone she thought she can trust isn't what it turns out to be. And at the same time, also at the other spectrum of it, it's like this person, I am having these opportunities to really be able to make an impact outside of, the undercover stuff. And once I finish this, it's all done. It's all over. She kind of goes back to where life was, and it kind of doesn't seem like she does want to go back to it. So it's a really a big question mark on like, what is she going to do next? Like it's kind of like she's kind of beginning to feel the crossroad effect coming into place. So having that scene, very much kind of having an emotionally vulnerable Maddie this episode was very key. I feel like it gave her a little bit more of an epiphany to kind of really start to really see the finish line here, start to really like kind of see where things might go from here, and kind of embracing the future finally. She's done a lot of hard work, and she's ready to kind of like bring it all home, and seeing that revelation, seeing those moments where like, yeah, she was a little pissy at moments, but like within reason, but like now having the clarity of the last 15 episodes behind her, now she's kind of ready to move on and ready to see how does the other side look like at the end of this case. And same with Olivia and Julian, just seeing them finally getting this divorce stuff over, allowing them to begin a new chapter. Where does it take them next? Who the heck really knows? I'm just very curious to see, how does it all end up for them? Who's going to be the senior partner? Like, we don't know. There's still a lot of mini storylines still left to resolve. But I'm just like, now finally we're getting to that moment with the main case where like it's coming to an end. It's going to be over, and I can't wait to see how it's gonna all wrap up. With that all being said, I'm giving this episode 2 thumbs up. Let me know down below what you think of this week's episode of Matlock. I would love to hear your thoughts down below. We'd love to have a conversation with you about it. But I believe it's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the first season of Matlock. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's the Two besides our Matlock episode reviews. Right now we're doing Reacher episode reviews each and every Fridays after brand episodes on Thursdays on Amazon Prime. We're doing Suits LA episode reviews each and every Sunday nights after brand episodes on NBC, and we're doing Rookie episode reviews each and every every Tuesdays after brand episodes on ABC. But if you don't care about Matlock, sadly you'll have to wait a little bit. We are going on a little hiatus for a few weeks. Matlock will return in April, I believe, with the final run of episodes. So unless things change with just how those last episodes come out, I believe it'll just be a straight run to the finale after that. We will do our next 3 episodes reviews as normal. Then from there, we will be doing a season 2 predictions video where we kind of predict what I would love to see in season 2 when we do get it eventually in the future. And then also after that, we will be doing a season 1 review, spoiler-free edition for anyone who has yet to see the show for themselves. And that will wrap up our Matlock season 1 coverage for the year. But yeah, so exciting times ahead. But sadly, we will be off the air for a few weeks. Reacher will take over the time slot starting next week, leading to the finale. So thankfully, it's all going to be even out from there. But again, thank you so much for watching again. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring that bell and follow us on social media for more. But until we see each other again, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.